What if I told you the greatest disaster in human history was not a war, not a plague, not even a world collapse, but a fire? A fire that may have erased thousands of years of human knowledge, a fire that turned wisdom into smoke, a fire that silenced voices we will never hear again. This is the story of the Library of Alexandria, and what we may have lost forever. 2,300 years ago, on the shores of Egypt, in a city founded by Alexander the Great, something extraordinary was built. Not a palace, not a temple, not a fortress, but a monument to knowledge. The Library of Alexandria. It wasn't just a building filled with scrolls, it was a bold idea, an idea that all human knowledge could be collected in one place. Imagine that for a moment. Every book, every map, every scientific theory, every philosophical debate, all under one roof. This was not an accident. After Alexander's death, his general Ptolemy took control of Egypt, and he had a vision. He wanted Alexandria to become the intellectual capital of the world. So he funded the creation of a research institution called the Museon, a place dedicated to the muses, the goddesses of inspiration. The library was part of this grand complex. Scholars from Greece, from Persia, from India, from Africa, they were invited to live there, given food, given housing, given salaries, all for one purpose: to think, to write, to discover. Ships arriving at Alexandria's harbor were searched, not for weapons, but for books. Any scroll found on board was taken, copied by scribes, and the original stayed in the library. That's how serious they were. Historians estimate the library may have held between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls. Let that sink in. At a time when books were hand-copied, when literacy was rare, when travel was dangerous, this was the greatest collection of knowledge the world had ever seen. And inside those scrolls were discoveries centuries ahead of their time. Mathematics that laid the foundation for modern science, astronomy that mapped the stars with shocking precision, medical texts describing surgeries, engineering ideas, philosophy, history, even early concepts of steam power. Some scholars believe that Heron of Alexandria described a primitive steam engine nearly 2,000 years before the Industrial Revolution. Imagine if that technology had been pursued. Imagine if those ideas had not been forgotten. Would the modern world have arrived 1,000 years earlier? We don't know, because much of it is gone. And that is where the mystery begins. How does something so important simply disappear? There wasn't just one destruction. It may have died slowly, piece by piece. The first major blow may have come in 48 BC. Julius Caesar was in Alexandria, locked in a civil war. During the fighting, ships in the harbor were set on fire. Flames spread. Ancient sources claim part of the library was damaged. Was it completely destroyed? Probably not, but it was wounded. Then centuries passed. Political turmoil, religious conflict, budget cuts, neglect. The empire rose, then fractured, and funding for scholarship was no longer a priority. Some accounts suggest that in the 4th century AD, during religious conflicts, pagan temples were destroyed. Was the remaining library caught in that chaos? Possibly. Another tradition blames the Arab conquest in the 7th century, but many modern historians doubt that version. The truth is complicated. The library likely didn't vanish in one dramatic blaze. It may have faded, a slow death, scrolls decaying, scholars leaving, funding disappearing, knowledge scattered, and then silence. No grand rebuilding, no replacement, just fragments. Imagine the conversations that once echoed through its halls, debates about the shape of the Earth, calculations about planetary motion, medical breakthroughs, ideas about democracy and law, all gone. Think about what that means. Every time we celebrate a new discovery, there's a chance someone in Alexandria knew it 2,000 years ago, and we had to rediscover it from scratch. How much time did humanity lose? How many breakthroughs were delayed? How many cures? How many inventions? We often think progress is a straight line. It isn't. History moves forward, then backward, then forward again. And the burning of knowledge may be one of the greatest setbacks ever. But here's the deeper question. Why does this story still haunt us? Because it represents something fragile, civilization itself. We assume our knowledge is safe, stored in digital clouds, backed up on servers, protected by technology. But what if it isn't? The Library of Alexandria reminds us that knowledge can vanish. Empires fall, systems collapse, and what seems permanent can disappear. Yet the idea of the library never truly died. Centuries later, universities arose in Europe and the Middle East. Scholars in Baghdad preserved Greek texts. Monasteries copied manuscripts by candlelight. The Renaissance reignited ancient ideas. In a way, the spirit of Alexandria survived. Today, a modern Library of Alexandria stands near the original site, a symbolic tribute to what once was. But the original scrolls are gone, their words lost to time. And maybe that's why this story feels so powerful. It's not just about a building, it's about human potential, the potential we achieved and the potential we may have lost. Imagine walking through its halls, shelves towering with scrolls, the smell of papyrus, the scratch of reed pens on parchment, the quiet intensity of scholars debating ideas that shaped the future. Then imagine watching flames crawl across those shelves, turning centuries of thought into ash. The greatest knowledge loss in human history. Not because of evil genius, not because of advanced weapons, but because civilization is fragile and knowledge is precious. The Library of Alexandria is more than a mystery. It is a warning. Protect knowledge, preserve ideas, value truth, because once it's gone, it may take another 1,000 years to get it back, and some things may never return at all.